Welcome back to the show. We got big things coming. Let's not waste any time. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and DigPerspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $4.13 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is off 0.2%. Bitcoin 115,900 plus, Ethereum 4,400 plus, XRP 298 right now. Now we're off 1.8 on the 24 and we're off 5.2 on the 7-day. Let's take a look at the price here, ranging between 298 and 304. You can see that range has really tightened up a lot. So we will keep an eye on it. However, for me, remember, we got the Clarity Act that we should start hearing things on towards, the early side of October. And between then and November, we should get it passed and signed into law before the end of the year. So we will keep an eye on it. I do want to show you guys this. Look at this beautiful home. Now, I told you, I've been working with Realty Mark, and you can too. You go to golfofamericaxrp.com and get started today. You ask for Daniel, you call or text him, and he will start putting you on a mailing list that's catered to your needs and exactly what you're looking for. But look at this gorgeous property right here. I absolutely love this. Look, I took the family down just a couple weeks ago to Destin, Florida, so I could start to navigate this area. I wanted to make sure that the beaches were everything they said they were. And by the way, the answer is yes. It is the softest white sand you'll ever have on your feet. I'm not kidding you. I felt like the sand was so soft, it feels like you're getting a pedicure on your feet. I don't know what to say. I mean, it is literally that soft. The water was beautiful. It's warm. You could see through the waves because of the clear blue-green water. I mean, until you see it, and then you don't have to leave the continental United States to get it. And we're talking about the panhandle of Florida, for goodness sakes. We're not talking about Malibu where the taxes are crazy and the prices are out of control. No, 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 no. We're talking about beautiful homes like this, just little beach cottages that are absolutely gorgeous where you could have your family and just have the time of your life. And I'm telling you, the people down there are absolutely wonderful. And the bars and the restaurants, look at that water. It is just like that. I was just swimming in it. And I wanted to go and make sure they had it just like that. And they do. And then the little bars and restaurants and shops, it's such a beautiful place. So look, if you're interested in having things like that after Moon in crypto, right, and getting some hard asset investments for you and your family, this is a great place to do it. So go to golfofamericaxrp.com, click the link under the video, and talk to Daniel. He'll get you set up. Let's start here. Wall Street just watched the first XRP spot ETF, which was the Rex Osprey, set the record for 2025 day one launch volume. This will put the entire industry on notice. For those still watching to launch their, those still waiting to launch their ETFs may have to go pick up some more XRP to handle the demand. And Ripples and Whales underneath says, supply shock incoming in November. Quite possibly. Quite possibly. First of all, shout out to Zach Rector, who's a rising star in this space. And I think he's absolutely spot on here. Well, you want to talk about a bat signal going out here. Listen, this is the institutions that are like lining up in the horses' gates, right? They're ready to go here. I couldn't be more excited. And all of that is in the same timeline of getting this legislation. The window is tightening. And meanwhile, Anthony Scaramucci says 200,000 is too low. It needs to be 500K.
You just have to ask yourself the following question, and then there's a binary move after you answer the question. Is Bitcoin an asset class? Is it an asset class? If the answer is yes, then I believe, therefore, it should trade to the market capitalization of gold. It represents an asset class. That means that a portfolio consultant will go to a large-scale institutional investor and say, you need to allocate to gold. You need to allocate to Bitcoin. NVIDIA, Amazon, these others are investments, they're stock investments. If Bitcoin's not an asset class and it's a collectible, okay, whatever you want to call it, then where it's priced now is probably reasonably fairly valued, meaning it's going to be in or near the Mag 7 in terms of its market capitalization. And so I've taken the position, rightly or wrongly, and I can back it up, I think, with a lot of color and a lot of commentary, that it is an asset class. And it's very unique in the following respect. It's a global asset. If you look at American companies or the S&P 500, yes, people around the world own them, but they're predominantly owned by Americans. Bitcoin is got amazing distribution in terms of its ownership around the world. So if you say to yourself, if 50 or 60% of the people that currently own Bitcoin believe it's an asset class, will they continue to buy Bitcoin? Will they continue to hold Bitcoin? Will they recommend it as an allocation in portfolios? If that's the case, then $200,000 is too low for Bitcoin. Something like $500,000 would be there. So
Well, there you go. And if it's $500,000 for Bitcoin, where's that put us, ladies and gentlemen? That's why I'm excited about it. Not to mention the fact that, look, it doesn't really seem out of line as long as they get the Bitcoin strategic reserve. Now, does it? It's quite easy to see how it could reach those numbers quickly, very quickly. So that's all in the works as well. But let's keep moving here because, talking about supply, Coinbase XRP holdings dropped to 32 million with only 2 cold wallets remaining. Now, again, will they be replenished over time? Or is this something that we're going to see become a real issue? Because as the window is tightening to get the Clarity Act, we're also tightening and closing the window to get the banking charter and the Federal Reserve master account. And if we get those two things from Ripple, or they get those two things and Ripple has them from the application process and they're approved, we could see a different direction with how Ripple does the escrow. We could see them say, listen, we're going to pivot more towards the institutions and not focus on the retail side as heavily as they have done. So we will see where this goes. So this is getting interesting. Again, they could replenish all of this and it becomes a moot point. And it's like, it's nothing. They're just doing the same business as usual. So we have to watch out for that as well. But meanwhile, in Thailand, they've changed it to zero capital gains tax on crypto. Well, don't forget that discussion has been here as well. Could we see U.S. domiciled assets have zero capital gains to incentivize the new payment protocols of the world? I think that could be a play. And I think it could steer us towards fair use tax as well, which would be a positive at my house. Let's listen to SEC Chair Paul Atkins here talk about digitization of assets and the work being done at the Depository Trust Clearing Corporation. Yes, the DTCC.
About 24/7 potentially securities markets around the world. So anyway, so the SEC was there and worked with the industry, and that's how DTCC came about, where securities were then digitized, and so they were globalized, the globalized securities, and immobilized that way, and then traded digitally. So that was a huge innovation. And other things through the years, the automatic trading systems, ETFs, all of those things SEC enabled through a creative use of rulemaking, of course, prompted by people, approaching the SEC and saying, what if, can we do it? And I remember my old boss, Richard Breeden, in the early 90s, the staff had been trying to think about ETFs. And when he said, well, because he had dumped the whole big file on my desk, say, figure out why this has taken, years to not even get out of the agency. And so the staff was saying, well, we're not sure if the market wants it. And so Richard had the best retort, well, how do you think you're going to find out? And that is like, let's try it and see what happens. So
that's who your new SEC chair is. Let's try it and let's see what happens. He's not afraid to roll these things out, just like expediting the ETF process. I got to be honest. I mean, this is his second time in the chair. Excuse me. And Commissioner Paul Atkins may go down as one of the greatest SEC chairmen to ever sit in that chair. Let's see. And this is a reminder here that the DTCC, which Chair Atkins was just talking about doing the digitization and tokenization. Take a listen.
The DTCC has in this model is we are the record keeper for quadrillions of dollars of transactions, but for fundamentally assets under record, approximately $100 trillion worth of assets.
And they can tokenize them in just a few moments. That's what they can do. And here we see the progress coming along beautifully so far for the legislation on the market infrastructure bill, which is the Clarities Act. Last week, we released a framework on market structure legislation highlighting our desire to work on this issue. We stated then digital assets are a $4 trillion global market that will require a considered bipartisan approach to regulation. We hope our Republican colleagues will agree to a bipartisan authorship process as in the norm for legislation of this scale. Given our shared interest in the moving forward quickly on this issue, we hope they will agree to reasonable requests to allow true collaboration. For this process to work, it must start from a place of mutual understanding. We look forward to engaging with our Republican counterparts in such a manner. And this was a Senate Democrats that say they want to work with Republican colleagues to move forward quickly on a bipartisan crypto market structure legislation. And you know why they want to move forward together in a bipartisan way? Because they saw how many seats they lost during the presidential election. Yeah, because before then, there was no bipartisan effort. It was just the left and the Biden administration suppressing the living daylights out of this market and innovation. That's what was happening. And now they realize if we don't get in front of this and start getting happy about getting this done, we're going to lose even more seats on the midterm, right? It's not rocket science, ladies and gentlemen. They are working with us because they know they have to. Paul Barron says in response to the Senate Dems that he says the DC connections that he has says this is moving very fast in the right direction, as it should, because this is all coming back to the US dollar dominance, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, let's move into this piece. Smoke Dog shares this and says all attention is now on the next critical date, which is the November 2025 global ISO 20022 cutover. Yes, after November 25, it says here only ISO 20022 compliant messages will be accepted through Swift's network, which connects more than 11,000 financial institutions worldwide. Ultimately, ISO 20022 sets the stage for an industry-wide leap forward. It's exactly right. It's spot on. And again, this all comes at the same time that we know Ripple is getting that bank license and that Federal Reserve master account. Don't believe it. It's still true. Because somebody's got to be prepared to handle all the movement that will start to happen with the coding of these digital assets on these new payment rails, along with the legacy system still in play. This is where we're going. This is why I'm telling you, Ripple's getting that license and they're getting that master account. The Federal Reserve is not allowed to create a central bank digital currency. So essentially, what have they been made? A custodian of paper dollars, right? They may print some for a little while longer, but we won't need them to much longer. Think of where this is going. The Fed is getting cut out, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And then there's this account I want to share with everyone. Yoto. Yoto. I don't know who this is, but they say it's Bank of Japan 2010 to present, central bank digital currency cross-border payments, anonymous for safety, fragmented truth. And I could say, I don't believe that this is directly related to Bank of Japan. I could be wrong about that, but there's some pretty incredible comments made here, like saying that we briefed on the possibility of Swift formally announcing a pilot with Ripple. However, key executives at Bank of Japan and I myself believe that Ripple should maintain its independence. So whoever this person is claiming that they have knowledge or inside information dealing with the Bank of Japan. There's some really interesting posts here that I just want to share. Now, first of all, let's understand this. Speculative what we're looking and hearing here. But we're not speculating about the deep relationship that Ripple and XRP have with SBI and the largest financial institutions in Japan. That's why this is interesting to me, right? And we already know that Ripple is also collaborating with Citibank and Swift. So there is that as well. So then here is another comment here from, 2 days ago. The internal research group at the Bank of Japan predicts that by 2030, at least 35% of international yen-based settlements will be on chain. That's over the next 5 years, 4.5. Japan will integrate tokenized deposits in yen, US dollars, and euros. However, the true key lies in XRP. All paths ultimately lead there. That's how I've got it at my house. So this is super interesting. The Bank of Japan will start purchasing XRP. However, it will not purchase it officially or directly. It will purchase through a third party. This is because if news spreads, the Bank of Japan is purchasing XRP, the price could surge rapidly. This falls in line with the gentleman that was interviewing with Paul Barron, that said they all have these subsidiary companies that are not named under their name, so they can do all of these things for years without letting the markets understand that they're already involved. Because then if it moves markets, then it defeats the purpose of them being in early, right? So there's a lot coming, whether this account is absolutely legit or whether they're just talking things that they believe are unfolding. I'm showing it because it made reminder of this to me, that the November ISO 20022 date is a live date. It is a very real date issued by Swift. And I couldn't help but remember that Watcher Guru post that came out back in March. And it says Swift is nearing an agreement with Ripple to use XRP for cross-border payments with billions of XRP secured in escrow as liquidity reserves. And it was taken down. And then a moment later, they said, oh, our account was hacked, but we just got it back. This is all inside of 2 minutes. I have never seen anyone have their account get hacked and get it back in 2 minutes. I've been through it enough times. So, something feels suspect. It felt like in a lot, and I wasn't the only one that felt this way. That felt like a promotional piece that got released too soon, and then it was pulled back. And then they tried to throw cover to say that they were hacked, and someone just randomly put it on the account after hacking the account. Listen, for me, here we are, September 20th. November 2025 is catching us just as quick as it can get here. So, you know what? I can wait, and I know you can too. And patience has been the one thing that we have as an XRP family that most others in this space do not. So it requires us to be just a little bit more patient to find out exactly what all this may mean or not by the time we get there. It's not financial advice from me or anyone else. We'll take a look at this before we get out of here. It's September 2025. The dominoes are aligned. The clock is ticking. And if everything proceeds as planned, XRP will hit $25 by December 2025. And I tell you what, Pumpius, I don't know who you are, but I've never wanted somebody I didn't know to be right so bad. I could tell you that. And I know most of you hear my voice feel the same way. Or how about Crypto Bull? He said, I'm thinking XRP is in its last stages of the 2017 pattern, which could take us to $37 in October. So you can see the TA people are seeing something between now and call it the end of the year. And I am too, as long as we get the fundamental news we need. Give us all those ETFs approved. Give us the banking license. Give us the Federal Reserve master account. Give us the Clarity Act. And then let's talk about what this market looks like, because I bet it looks a lot better than it does right now today. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.